The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times your entry with Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your first special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by the Mega Memorial Merch Sale. 15% off of everything in the SGPN merch store with the promo code SGPN May. Act now as the sale ends Friday. And it is showtime once again here back on the college baseball experience. What's going on, everybody? My name is Noah Bieniek. I'm hosting today, going solo for the bracket picks and futures episode, giving out all my picks on my bracket, my favorite futures here for regionals, favorite futures pre-tournament for the College World Series national champion, and even just a College World Series appearance. But first, I have to break it to you. I had to wave the white flag on the 16 regional previews. It was actually like quite a lame effort. There is a reason for that. If you guys have never tuned into this show or just the college experience brand in general, whether it be football, whether it be basketball, you know my house Wi-Fi sucks. I have both my dad and my mom working. I still live at home. And I mean, you can knock on me for all you want, but I don't have to pay rent, so I am still paying off student loans. So I'm gonna live at home as long as I can. The one thing that sucks about it is the Wi-Fi sucks. So throughout the day, I let my parents work. Then that's why I'm a night owl. Well, that's not why I'm a night owl, but I am a night owl and I do my best work because it's more efficient. The Wi-Fi just runs way smoother when it's just me online on my laptop. So it was never going to be able to work. I don't know why I came up with that delirious idea. However, it was just content during the midweek. There's 4 previews out there if you really want to check them out. We did the 1 seed, the 2 seed, the 15 seed, the 16 seed overall over there. But today, I wanted to go more in depth on those episodes. I couldn't get it to happen. Today, it's not really going to be very in-depth at all. I want it to be a 45-minute show, maybe even less, fly through some of the picks. We'll be back here again tonight for game 1 picks. So for the regionals, I'll be handicapped each game just like I do for my typical weekend picks episodes. If you're looking for that, tune in later tonight. I will be live whenever I get done handicapping most of those games. Pitchers are still kind of trickling out, so that's the tough part about this. However, let's dive into the bracket picks. First off, I want to let you know that we are running our own bracket pool over here on d1baseball.com. You can find it over at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bracket. We're giving away a $200 SGPN gift card to the winner. And plus, depending on the amount of people that join up, we've already got a good group going. We might have like TCE starter kits for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, depending on how many people sign up. So TCE starter kit would just be t-shirt, hat of your color and choice that we'll send as like a little care package, depending on how many people sign up here. But yeah, I mean, just join me on the college baseball experience throughout the NCAA tournament as we're covering this great game. Every single day there's games, giving out picks, and then super regionals will do a preview before that. College World Series will do a preview before that. We have you covered here on the college experience. Plus, over on the SGPN store right now, you can get off 15% of everything with the code SGPN May. We're running a mega Memorial Day sale. Memorial Day is over, but it's lasting till Friday. So 15% off everything with the promo code SGPN May. All right, so we're over here on d1baseball.com. SGPN or sg.pn/bracket or sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bracket. And I'm going to display my screen creating my bracket. In the Knoxville Regional, I already did a preview on this regional. So if you want in-depth opinion on it, go check that out. It's like 15 minutes long. By the way, YouTube comments rolling along. James Roberts says, these morning episodes over my first cup of coffee have been a blessing. Let's fucking go. Frankie Cox says, give me some winners for the weekend, brother. And then Crutch says, oh, it's okay. I'm going to win it all. Talking about the bracket contest there. So in the Knoxville Regional, I already announced my winner and runner-up over on the other show. I have Tennessee winning the regional. I have Indiana as my runner-up. The Greenville Regional, I went really in depth with this. I did not like the situation and the pick, but I do think that the home field advantage really helps East Carolina here because of that Wake bullpen that is just not in good shape right now. They keep blowing games late. Give me the Pirates. I have the Deacons as the runner-up in that regional. We're going to jump over to Lexington real quick because these are the other two that I previewed. I had Kentucky winning the regional for the bracket pool. However, I said I would not be betting the Cats. I would actually consider betting the Sycamores because on paper, Indiana State's right there with Kentucky, but I trust the co-SEC regular season champion over Indiana State. So I'm taking Kentucky to get out of Lexington regional. And then I had Oregon State winning the Corvallis regional and Tulane as my runner-up there. I just think that Tulane's lineup is really hot right now, and they could be able to play themselves into the regional final. All right, so let's dive in. We're going to start on the left side. We'll work our way down this bracket. In the Norman Regional, your boy, I am going with, let me find my reasoning first. I have a Google Doc in front of me. I'm going with Duke. I cannot speak enough about how impressed I was about this Duke team steamrolling their way through the ACC tournament without their ace, Jonathan Santucci, because of a rib injury, and their second most used starter, Kyle Johnson, because they just wanted to give the freshman a week off. But both are expected to return this weekend as Santucci threw a public bullpen and nothing was wrong with Johnson last week. So overall, Pollard just has so many weapons to mix and match with out of the pen. Just think of the Blue Devils as basically like the college baseball version of the Tampa Bay Rays. I've been saying that for like a year and a half now, but they basically have a genius head coach that isn't afraid to deploy an opener while also having an offense that doesn't really contain your household names, but they rake from top to bottom. Plus a little added motivation here from being snubbed out of hosting a regional never hurt anybody. So when you're looking at that game one matchup, this is what I would be diving into more if I was doing specific 16 regional previews. I wish I was able to complete that, but just couldn't make it work out. Duke and UConn have very similar strengths. UConn is another very pitching heavy team, but Duke's going to be able to outslug them for sure. And I think Duke comes out of the regional entirely. I think they win this Norman regional. I have Oklahoma as my runner-up here. Going down to the Tallahassee regional, I should probably be reading off betting odds. I dropped the ball on that for sure. Jesus. So I am betting Duke, by the way. Thank God I remembered that late. So best price currently on Duke to win the Norman Regionals plus 100. I am on that personally. You can find that over there on DraftKings. I haven't officially bet anything out of the Knoxville, Greenville, Lexington, or Corvallis regionals. So that kind of saves my ass a little bit. But moving forward, I will list off some of the prices. In the Tallahassee regional, we have Florida State minus 110, Alabama plus 190, UCF plus 550, and Stetson plus 1,400. For me, I am going to take Florida State. It's in a real tricky regional here because I still think that they'll ultimately prevail, but Stetson, they're a tough little brother 4 seed that's already beaten the Seminoles once this season. Link Jarrett may have to use Jamie Arnold here to make sure that FSU doesn't fall into that losers bracket, because if that does happen, the Noles may not have enough pitching, efficient pitching to dig themselves out of that hole in the loser bracket. However, the Seminoles, they have 4 capable starting pitchers in Arnold, Carson Dorsey, Connor Whitaker, Andrew Armstrong, plus a possible postseason return from former starter Cam Leiter, and then an additional 7 arms out of the bullpen with more strikeouts than innings pitched. The issue right now with the Seminoles pitching staff is just control and finding the strike zone. Florida State should be able to mix and match their way on the mound while slugging their way out of this regional with ACC Player of the Year James Tibbs, Cam Smith, and Jaime Ferrer and Marco Dinges all OPSing over 1,000 and therefore advancing to the Super Regionals, where they would once again play at home, but in a format that is much more fitting to them. So I'm going to take Florida State to get out of the Tallahassee Regional. My runner-up here is going to be UCF. I think that they have the best pitching staff in this Tallahassee Regional, and I think that's going to get them farther than some may think. So UCF's going to be my runner-up in the Tallahassee Regional. We then move on to Fayetteville. First off, Kyle Hagan in the YouTube chat says, give me those purple aces to the Super Regional. In the Fayetteville Regional, Arkansas is minus 190, Kansas State's plus 350, Louisiana Tech plus 450, and Southeast Missouri State 25-1. Honestly, if I'm being straight up, I don't think any one of these teams in this regional has enough on the mound to be able to expose the Arkansas offense, because that's been the big question throughout the entire year. I truly do believe in the Arkansas pitching staff, though. I think it's an embarrassment of riches, and we're talking about an Arkansas team that was dominant in the non-conference pitching wise, and I know some people are panicking recently about the weekend rotation after Hagan Smith, but I still believe in Brady Tigert and Mason Molina outside of the SEC gauntlet. If DVH doesn't believe in them like I do, I mean, he can turn to Gage Wood or Will McIntyre, and this team's just not going to skip a beat. Out of the bullpen, there are a bunch of nameless arms right now that I think can emerge throughout the postseason, like Gabe Gackle, Cody Frank, Christian Fauch, Jake Faraday. This staff is so deep, and the offense gets to benefit from home field advantage throughout the first 2 rounds of this tournament. Arkansas's 33-3 at Baum-Walker Stadium this season. Nobody in the Fayetteville Regional, in my opinion, has the offensive lineup to pose a real threat against this pitching staff, to put up plenty of runs to be able to pull away from Arkansas here. And I think winning this regional not only builds this team some confidence here, but also just it gives them confidence in the Super Regional and going into Omaha possibly, offensively for sure. Like again, when you get out of the SEC and into the national scene, into the NCAA tournament, I mean, we've seen it before where these SEC teams, they just take over and kind of run the place. And I think Arkansas's pitching staff definitely has the capability of looking much better than they did during the final stretch of the season. So I'm going to go with Arkansas here. And then I actually believe that Kansas State can win this early matchup against La Tech with either Barema or Wentworth on the mound. And that's going to set them up overall to be the runner-up in this regional. I don't think they have the pitching depth to be able to win this thing, but I think they'll be able to challenge in the regional final. Real quick before we continue on here, Underdog Fantasy wants to make the NBA playoffs a lot more interesting for everybody willing. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Underdog is available in 30-plus states, including California, Texas, and even Canada. Personally, I was writing nightly articles during the college basketball season. They have plenty of player projection markets out there. We were hitting that 62%. When you're doing that, you're having a bunch of fun. Trust me, I mean, Underdog, they'll be running a ton of different promos, bonus cash airdrops, special giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure you follow at Underdog Picks on Twitter to keep an eye out. Sign up today with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. Crutches on the Louisiana Tech Diamond Dogs. We're going to skip over here to the Charlottesville Regional. The winner of this regional would then travel over to Fayetteville. We'll get to my super regionals here after we go through all of the regionals. In Charlottesville, we have finding the odds right now. Currently, I'm pulling all of these directly from DraftKings. I encourage you guys to shop around, look for the best price. I will be tweeting out the official prices that I got, also listing every play that I'm currently riding for the postseason at the end of the show. I got the bracket, the cocktail napkin right here in front of me. Virginia minus 120, Mississippi State plus 130, St. John's 13-1, and Penn 25-1. In the Charlottesville regional, I thought this was one of the toughest ones for me to pick. All season long, I've had this thought that Mississippi State had the ingredients for an Omaha run, but I think they may have peaked a little too early. It was still an impressive performance last week in Hoover, but unfortunately, their two big offensive stars, Dakota Jordan and Hunter Hines, are slumping at the wrong time. The Bulldogs, they have a dynamic 1-2 punch on the mound in Cal Steven and Jerangelo Sanja, but I'm just not sure that they will be able to get it done after those two on the road against a Virginia team that's 26-7 at Disharoon Park and is averaging the third most runs in the country at 9.66 compared to Hail State's 6.76 runs per game, which ranks them 155th. So I think Virginia overall, you'll be able to start Blanco, Savino in whatever order that you want to, and then I think they're able to slug their way through this regional after. Give me Virginia and Mississippi State as my runner-up in Charlottesville. The next one is going to be the regional that I'm going to have my eyes glued on most this weekend. It's the Tucson regional, and the betting favorite currently, or just listed as the first option. They're both the same price, but Dallas Baptist is plus 175, Arizona's plus 175, West Virginia's plus 330, and Grand Canyon's plus 650. For me, like I said, this is going to be an extremely exciting regional the entire weekend. I think back to last season's loaded regional team. I think back to last season's loaded regional without an SEC team. To me, in my opinion, before last year's tournament began, I could make a case for all four teams to advance out of the Stillwater regional. You had Oklahoma State, you had Dallas Baptist, you had Washington, you had Oral Roberts. I feel the same about this year's Tucson regional. West Virginia has that feel-good story as head coach Randy Mazey looks to hopefully retire after a game in Omaha with his beloved Mountaineers. Grand Canyon was this year's team that didn't deserve to be in the field, but was able to sneak in, and they're potentially dangerous here. They've already knocked off Arizona once this season. Arizona has one of the best starting rotations west of the Rockies. However, if you're a loyal listener to this show, last year, 2 years ago, yes, I have once again found a way for myself to be enamored with this Dallas Baptist baseball team. Check off the box that requires an ace, because that goggled freak that is Ryan Johnson certainly is one. I drafted him on my preseason fantasy team. We were on him from the very get-go. Additionally, Jaron DeBerry, James Elwanger, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, unfortunately, and then Jared Jenkins form a cluster of pitchers capable of starting games or appearing in long relief. And you can't forget about that. Forget that DBU, they've earned the nickname Dallas Bomb. I cannot talk today. It's early, and I'm not normally up in the mornings this early. DBU has earned the nickname Dallas Bombers University for a reason in years past, and this year is more of the same. The Pats have blasted 111 home runs this season, which slots them 15th nationally. So I'm going to go with DBU here, and I really think Grand Canyon's the player in this regional. I really think West Virginia's here, but I like the starting rotation from Arizona. I think that's going to keep them in the discussion conversation the entire weekend in the Tucson regional. But ultimately, I think Dallas Baptist with the much better offense than Arizona is going to be able to, launch some balls in the dry air and on the launch pad at High Corbett Field. The Chapel Hill Regional is the final one on the left side of our bracket here, down in the bottom left corner. And this one's also a pretty interesting one, a 1-2 punch between North Carolina and LSU. The Tar Heels are minus 110. The Tigers are plus 110. Wofford is plus 900. And LIU is 100-1 to come out of the Chapel Hill Regional. To me, this one's a super tough one too, because I have kind of fallen in love with North Carolina's offense. I think it's very similar to like the Texas A&M of the SEC. I think they're very similar to Texas A&M in the SEC. North Carolina, basically Texas A&M of the ACC. You're looking at Vance Honeycutt, Casey Cook, and Parks Harbor, all batting 1, 2, 3 in that order with 22, 18, and 20 taters each. The first 5 hitters in the lineup all have an OPS over 1,000, and all 9 starters have a batting average over 285. North Carolina's pitching depth has been super impressive given the injuries to top pitchers throughout the season, whether it be Jake Knapp in the preseason or Folger Boaz during the middle of the season. The bullpen's been awesome this year with the 10th best bullpen ERA at 397, whether it be Matthew Matisse, Dalton Pence, Aiden Haw, Matt Poston. They lead the Tar Heels in appearances from the pen, and all of them offer higher than 9K per nines. However, the injuries have pushed some of the relievers into longer relief or even starting roles, and this group could be stretched thin by a long regional. So if you drag them into the mud, they might not be able to, persevere. And you look at this LSU team, they're one of the hottest teams entering the regionals right now with an 18-6 record in the last 24 games. At the beginning of the year, it was a super young and inexperienced lineup with an experienced pitching staff. Early on, it was pitching leading the team to wins. In the middle of the year, the bullpen kind of slumped, but the batting order was starting to show signs of life. Now they are fully clicking at the same time, both units with a great 977 fielding percentage, and they're showing Omaha potential right now. The third starter's kind of been the main issue for LSU all season long, and after the Jump Holman duo, LSU's kind of vulnerable, and they'll need to win slugfests to advance from the regional. Griffin Herring has been outstanding from the pen with a 188 ERA, 57 strikeouts in 43 innings, only allowing 13 walks. Behind him, this staff has postseason experience from last year's Natty run that Jay Johnson will once again hope to tap into. You have Nate Ackenhausen, you have Javen Coleman, you have Thatcher Hurd, who turned it on last postseason, even though he sucked all year. He kind of did the same thing during the regular season. Maybe he's got that light switch that he's able to turn on again. Even Gavin Guidry, to name a few names from last year's postseason. Christian Little, hopefully he's healthy after that back scare in the SEC tournament. Truly, I don't know how serious that could be. He might be out for some time, but he's really kind of turned it on late himself. So personally, I'm kind of bought into the experience in the bullpen for LSU rather than North Carolina. The idea of them getting stretched thin with if they have to play a 4th or a 5th game in this Chapel Hill Regional. So I'm on the LSU Tigers here and North Carolina as my runner-up in the regional. We jump up to the Raleigh Regional where NC State's the 1 seed, and I sneak peek, I had no idea what to do with this regional. South Carolina's plus 115, the betting favorite as the 2 seed. The 1 seed, NC State's plus 125. James Madison is 6-1. Bryant 20-1. And for me, so I was going back and forth whether I wanted to go with the SEC 2 seed. This was another super tough regional for me to choose a winner from. In my opinion, top to bottom, I think it's the weakest regional, but it'll be competitive, if you know what I mean. South Carolina is intriguing because they showed some offensive life in Hoover, but the pitching was still poor. Could the Gamecock staff breathe a little bit of fresh air once they leave the SEC here? Or, I mean, they definitely could. However, I'm going to stick to my guns, especially during the last year with the SEC tournament format currently. Since 2017, teams that play 4 or more games in Hoover see the least success in the NCAA tournament compared to teams that have shorter weeks in the SEC tournament. The Gamecocks, they're 9-10 on the road this season, 2-7 on the road versus winning SEC teams. James Madison, they're 9-15 straight up on the road. And Bryant, they're a really experienced pitching staff, but I don't think they'll have enough to run the table here in the Raleigh Regional. So I'm going to fall back on NC State here. After all, the Wolfpack are 25-7 at the Doak this season, with series victories over Duke, Clemson, North Carolina, Virginia, a split against Florida State, and a series sweep over Wake Forest. NC State, they've continuously taken down some great teams this year, courtesy of a trio of hitters in the heart of their order: Garrett Pennington, Alec Makarevich, and Jacob Kozart. All three of them have an OPS over 1,000 this season. NC State's just continuously proven me and others wrong. I'm not going to fall for it once again. Whereas I think the South Carolina run and maybe one or two others in that Hoover SEC tournament were a little bit not fluky, but they had the benefit, or they were able to benefit off of some other teams not really trying to extend their stay in Hoover. So I'm going to go with NC State as one. And believe me, I really want to get cute with James Madison or Bryant, but I will go South Carolina as my runner-up in the Raleigh Regional. Let's jump down to Athens, where, I mean, if you were listening to my instant reaction, it might give away my pick in this regional. I'm betting the Georgia Bulldogs at plus 175. Currently, that's your best price, or not plus 175. Sorry. That I just gave away sneak peek for the back half of the show. I'm betting Georgia here at minus 155. The best price you'll find on the Bulldogs is on DraftKings. So Georgia minus 155, Georgia Tech plus 310, UNC Wilmington plus 390, and Army 25-1. To me, I thought this was the weakest regional, the softest regional for one of the top seeds in the NCAA tournament. The Bulldogs, they had a shaky argument to be a top 8, in my opinion, but the committee gave them the number 7 overall seed, filling out the rest of the Athens regional with UNCW, one of the weaker 2 seeds in this year's field. Georgia Tech, albeit a bitter rival of Georgia's, the Yellow Jackets were one of the last 4 teams in the field. They went 0-2 against Georgia this season. A third loss was technically postponed mid-game due to thunderstorms. The bullpen's rough. And then the 4-seed Army, who's appearing in their 4th straight NCAA tournament, but never really poses any real threat. And by the way, I don't even think that's 4th straight. I think I got the number wrong there. But Georgia, they're 29-5 at Foley Field this season. They're led by Charlie Condon, who's having one of the best offensive seasons in college baseball history. Earlier this season, Condon broke the BB-Core record for home runs in a season. He's now at 35 through 54 games, and he's still racking them up. Condon isn't just a slugger, though. He leads the country with a 443 batting average. He's surrounded by 6 other teammates that have averages over 290 as well. Overall, the Bulldogs, their offense has a 138 WRC plus, which slots them second nationally. I think that's enough to get them through this regional, even though their pitching's still a big question mark. UNCW is your best pitching team in this regional, but they don't really have the offense to be able to match the Bulldogs. The Yellow Jackets do kind of have the offense where they could match the Bulldogs, but Georgia held them pretty much at bay the entire series earlier on this weekend, or earlier on this season. And plus, I think it's more the same with Georgia having the home field advantage the entire weekend. And I mean, the deeper they go into this regional, it favors Georgia even more because I like their pen and Wes Johnson managing it more than I do with Danny Hall managing the Yellow Jackets pen. So I like Georgia as the winner of this regional, and I like the Seahawks of UNC Wilmington as my runner-up here. Again, betting Georgia minus 155. Georgia's my favorite pick to come out of any regional this NCAA tournament. Let's go to a real quick break, because if you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning their algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm, spelled RITHMM, pairs its predictions with player prop graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data, without you needing to endlessly scroll a sports book. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models so you can get AI-backed moneyline, spread, and total picks for every playoff game. Start a free 7-day trial and start winning your NBA player props with Rhythm, available wherever you get your apps. Alrighty, we're home free here on the College Baseball Experience. Checking in on the YouTube chat. I fell asleep on that. I apologize. Kyle Hagan says, when can we expect pitching matchups? I like VCU to be scrappy on Friday if Burns doesn't pitch. I'd expect them throughout the day. Like, you'll get some press conferences here this morning, this afternoon. And then most of the team write-ups will come up this afternoon. At night, you'll get the game notes on some of the team websites as well. Crutch is on the Pats. He says he loves Dallas Baptist. Josh Morgera says, you coming out to Omaha this year? That was the plan. I don't know if it's currently still the plan. Hopefully my Wi-Fi is holding up. It's telling me that it's sucking right now. Ricky says, I've been to Omaha a couple of times, and I'm really tempted to make a trip this season. Ricky, everything I've heard about it is amazing. I mean, if you're hemming and hawing, I would encourage you to go. I can't wait to go out there my first time, but it might have to wait another year. I applied for media, and for full clarity, I got turned down. So, again, I said it earlier this show. I'm living at home, still paying off student loans. I don't really have the cash flow to be making trips like that on my own. 20MC20 said, I did not need to find out that Bet Rivers lets you parlay regional winners. Texas A&M, Oklahoma State, Mississippi State, and Duke at plus 806, he says. Ryan says, who did he pick for the NC State region? I had the Wolfpack there. And then Josh D. Penn says, a fellow Pittsburgher who loves college baseball, you'll love to see it. Go Noles. I mean, Pitt has kind of owned Florida State in recent years, but yeah, I mean, I went to school in downtown Pittsburgh, Point Park University, but live here in Detroit. And last night, technically yesterday afternoon, went down to Detroit, watched the Tigers and the Pirates, my two favorite MLB teams, face off against each other. My first time seeing Jared Jones and Paul Skeens, for what it's worth, in person. So that was a great time for sure. And Tarek Skubal dealt for Detroit in game one. Let's continue the bracket picks here. We're in the Clemson regional now. I'm going to take a drink of water real quick. And the betting odds currently in this regional, we've got, where is this even at? Clemson plus 105, Vanderbilt plus 160, Coastal Carolina plus 450, and High Point 35-1. This regional is kind of labeled as the family regional, I would say. Way back when Clemson had Jack Leggett as their head coach, currently he's the assistant coach for the Tigers, but way back when he was the head man, Eric Bakich and Tim Corbin were assistants on the same coaching staff. When Corbin left for the Vanderbilt head coaching job, Bakich followed him to be an assistant with the Vandy boys, and Corbin met his wife and had kids in the Clemson area. Corbin's son played travel ball with Coastal Carolina head coach Gary Gilmore's son. He's retiring this weekend. Both Bakich and Corbin know him really well. And speaking of sons, Tim Corbin is the godfather of one of Bakich's sons. So those three coaches for sure know each other very, very well here in the Clemson regional. On the ball field, Clemson, they have 24 come from behind victories this season. It scares me a little bit as they were my preseason darlings, the team that I loved the price the most and got down on them to win the national championship. They're the team that I've been the loudest supporter on this season, not only because it's my guy Bakich, but I really thought there was plenty of value there. And I mean, there still is. I mean, just by the fact that they fall behind so often and so easily, but knowing that the offense with 7 guys that have batting averages over 300, they'll play with their foot on the gas until the end of the 9th inning. Every game gives me a little bit of confidence that they're going to end up prevailing over High Point, a Coastal Carolina team that struggles with their pitching depth on the mound. So Clemson's going to be able to get them later on. And then they also are playing a Vanderbilt team here who has brutal home and road splits, both hitting and pitching. So I'm going to take Clemson to get out of this regional, and I actually like Coastal as my runner-up here. I think they'll be able to slug their way past Vandy. Vandy is one of those teams that I was talking about earlier where I just think the Hoover run was a complete fluke. Prove me wrong, Vandy boys. So Clemson, I have them coming out of the Clemson regional. We're going down to Stillwater, where I have my 3rd regional bet here. I'm going to take the Pokes to come out of this regional. You can find it at -120 over there on BetMGM right now. Currently on DraftKings, Oklahoma State's -140, Florida's +225, Nebraska's +400, and Niagara's 45-1. Oklahoma State's 15-3 in their last 18 games, 28-9 since their star slugger Nolan Schubert returned from injury in the middle of March. Schubert's going to be a top MLB draft pick next year. The Cowboys, they're 9-1 in the last 10 games, scoring 8.75 runs per game, allowing just 3.33 runs per game. That overall is a 105-40 run differential during the sample size. The Pokes are 21-5 at O'Brate Stadium this season. Their power played well in the Big 12 tournament, which is played at Globe Life Field, one of the bigger parks in the MLB. So Charles Schwab Field in Omaha, a very big college baseball park, just like TCU last year where I was on the Horned Frogs late in the year. I think Oklahoma State's offense will translate very well to not only the NCAA tournament, but when they get to Omaha, we saw them blasting balls out of the park in Globe Life. I think more of the same could happen when they get to Charles Schwab, the Chuck. So plus, this team, they have 2 starting pitchers that have racked up over 100 Ks this season, 7 total arms with sub 475 ERAs. That's hard to match anywhere in the nation. Florida right now, they're dealing with a handful of offensive injuries that are kind of flying under the radar. Ty Evans being one of them, their second best hitter the entire season. He's out for the year. A pitching staff that just hasn't really lived up to the expectations this year. Nebraska, on the other hand, they possess a solid 4-man rotation led by Brett Sears, who's been announced as the game 1 starter here against Florida. I think that he's going to deal against the Gators, bump Florida down into the losers bracket, where I just don't think that they'll be able to thrive with the lack of pitching. And the Pokes, they'll be able to outslug the Cornhuskers in a couple of games at home at O'Brate Stadium in this regional, and they'll be able to take it home. So I got Oklahoma State in this regional. I have Nebraska as my runner-up. Then we get to Santa Barbara's regional. This is my 4th and final regional bet here. I'm on the Gauchos. +135 is the best price you'll find. This is currently on DraftKings. UC Santa Barbara's +135, San Diego +225, Oregon +275, and Fresno State at 10-1. So why do I like UC Santa Barbara so much? In 25 games on their brand new surface, they just redid the playing field at Cesar Usaka. I'm not saying that correctly. unfortunately. Caesar Iwasaka Stadium. The Gauchos have not lost, going undefeated at home for the first time in program history. And those 25 wins, Santa Barbara is outscoring opponents 206-78. This season at home, the Gaucho offense is hitting 311, 410, 517. That's batting average, on base percentage, slugging percentage. That's as a team with 39 home runs, while the pitching staff is holding opponents to a slash line of just 216, 284, 311 with 14 homers. 6 Gaucho batters are hitting 300 or better at home, with Aaron Parker's 409 leading the bunch. On the mound, all 3 weekend starters have ERAs under 3 at home this year. UC Santa Barbara is an elite pitching team with an above average offense as well. The Gauchos finished the season by winning 14 games in a row and 25 out of 27. I mean, this weekend rotation is ridiculous. It's Ryan Gallagher, a sophomore righty, who's 9-1 with a 2.27 ERA, 93 Ks, 22 walks, and 83.1 innings. Then you got Mike Gutierrez, a senior left-hander, who's 9-0 with a 3.30 ERA, 83 strikeouts, 33 walks, and 84.2 innings. And then Tyler Bremner, a sophomore right-hander, who's 11-0 with a 2.63 ERA, 96 strikeouts, 19 walks, and 82 innings. And then Matt Ager, who's also made 8 starts this season, was moved to the pen in favor of Bremner, who's having a breakout season this year. Ager's got a 4.13 ERA with 57 strikeouts and 56.2 innings. And you may say, oh, the competition, Noah, it's not as great as the Pac-12 or, I mean, San Diego's from the WCC. So I really don't see this argument because the Pac-12 had a down year. And if you look even further under the hood on some of these pitchers, Gallagher, 265 Sierra. Gutierrez, 370 Sierra. Bremner, 239 Sierra. And then in the bullpen, Jackson Flora and Cole Triba are 2 reliable bullpen arms with sub-4 ERAs. I love the Gauchos to come out of this regional, and I have San Diego as my runner-up. I respect both teams' body of work over there in the mid-major conference of the West Coast, but I really think not only do I have money on the Gauchos from the preseason, and they've lived up to every expectation and even more. They finished the year hot. They're rolling into the NCAA tournament. I just think, I mean, they've been unbeatable at home, literally haven't lost. And it's the mojo of the brand new turf at the stadium. So I love the Gauchos here at plus 135. Catching up on the YouTube chat here. Chase J says, Noah, what would be a 4-team parlay you'd rock with for regional winners? 3 or 5, however many. I just want to get action on one. My suggestion would just be to bet games straight throughout the regional. You can parlay 3 times instead of just one parlay, right? It makes sense to me. Ram said, bro, I miss college basketball so bad. I almost want to cry. It's going to be back before you know it. Josh D. Penn says, very familiar with Point Park U and meh. Florida State got hosed game 1. Cantu should have had a home run. That's true. Connor Johnson says, we're going to find out if UCI and UCSB had elite pitching or if the Big West just couldn't hit. Also, Connor Johnson saying Pac-12 had a down year, but still we'll still have the 3rd most draft picks like always. All right, we've got one more regional to go over. This one's going to be quite a breeze, as I mean, I don't know if you can really find a great bet on this one. Texas A&M minus 200. I actually was expecting that to be a little bit more expensive. That might have came down recently, actually, because I remember checking this. Texas A&M is minus 200. Texas is plus 310. Louisiana's plus 400. And Grambling's 100-1. Honestly, minus 200 is not terrible for Texas A&M here because that's where I'm going with the Aggies. This regional, Texas A&M possesses one of the best top-to-bottom scoring offenses with a great defense, an outstanding bullpen, and a great strike thrower in Ryan Prager as their ace. This regional serves more as, TV entertainment than, I view as really good competition for Texas A&M. All 9 hitters for the Aggies in this lineup have batting averages over 285, which is just pure insanity. The 1, 2, 3 in the top of the order, Gavin Grahovic, Jace Laviolette, and Braden Montgomery. They're all three of them have 20 plus homers this season. All three of them have a 315 batting average or higher, and all three of them have an OPS over 1050. That offense is insane. Louisiana can't match that. Texas can't match that. Grambling's just there for the vibes and the experience. The weekend rotation, like I mentioned with Prager, I mean, he's been outstanding this year, 106 strikeouts in 79 innings. He's 8-1 with a 251 ERA. And then Shane Steyo's stepped up into that starter, that SP2 role. And for the record, I'll lump in Justin Lampkin and Tanner Jones down the stretch in SEC play into the bullpen here. But those two guys, they kind of lost their mojos at the end of the SEC play. However, I think stepping out of the best conference in baseball could benefit them in whatever roles they take up. Outside of those two, this pen is outstanding and ranks 4th in the nation with a 382 ERA. Chris Cortez has outstanding stuff and can run it up there in triple digits sometimes. He has 73 strikeouts in 49 innings, and Evan Aschenbeck has appeared the most out of the pen and is super reliable with a 187 ERA. On the Aggies here, honestly, the minus 200 price isn't like the worst thing in the world that I've heard or that I've seen on Texas A&M this week. All right, so we've got our super regionals set. We've picked winner and runner-up for I forgot runner-up in College Station. My runner-up is going to be Texas. I think Texas has the offense to be able to get themselves into the regional final here. Louisiana's pitching is outstanding. Only behind Texas A&M in my opinion. But that's going to get them 3 games, and then they ran into trouble in the Sun Belt tournament pretty quickly. They were out of that tournament pretty quickly. Texas was too, but I just think the rivalry aspect is going to motivate Texas to want to get into this regional final. So that's going to be my run up there. I mean, I'm not holding it against you if you take Louisiana there for sure. And shout out to Connor MC for the stat, because I saw this on Twitter too. 6 Louisiana schools making the regionals. I think that's a record for the state. I don't know off the top of my head, but I mean, that's very impressive for the boot. All right, so we have our super regionals set. We're going to go in the top left corner here. Tennessee, East Carolina. Just automatically, I'm taking Tennessee here. This is hedging my bet from the Greenville Regional because I didn't feel confident in picking either East Carolina or Wake Forest. I think, East Carolina with Travis Savage, a fully healthy Travis Savage. Granted, we don't know that, but I think he might be able to get a game 1 win for East Carolina against Tennessee in Knoxville. And it's a dogfight in games 2 and 3 for the Pirates and the Vols. And even Wake Forest, if Chase Burns goes back to Knoxville, I think he's got the advantage over that, that Stamos Causey 1-2 punch that they throw in game 1. But I'm taking Tennessee to get there because I'm hedging that bet out of Greenville. The next one here is super tough between Duke and Florida State. Now, I believe Florida State won this series earlier in the season. And this one's also going to be in Tallahassee. I can't get the ACC tournament final out of my head. I think Florida State had the Carson Dorsey pitching advantage, their number 2 starter for the back half of the year, and Duke didn't care. They put up 16 runs. They beat them 16-4. Florida State really kind of got exposed for not really having, a go-to or 2 guys out of the starting rotation after Jamie Arnold. Arnold could get that game 1 victory over Santucci if that's how Duke decides to attack it for the weekend. But Duke's got just so many different arm angles and dudes that they can throw out of the pen. Bielenson's going to come at Florida State for 6 or 7 innings in the 3 games. And I think Duke ends up coming out of this regional or this super regional here at Tallahassee. And they're going to be my second team in Omaha. The next matchup here is Arkansas, Virginia. This one's pretty easy for me. Arkansas, I have winning here. The pitching is not even close. in this series. Virginia is going to need to slug their way through each game that they win. Personally, I don't see them doing that against Hagen Smith. And then I think it's going to go Tigert Molina or Molina Tigert, but whoever DVH decides to throw, and then that pen after, they've just got so much more depth than Virginia. So I've got Arkansas winning that matchup. Then we get to the really interesting bottom left corner of this bracket, because I do feel pretty good about LSU, and I feel pretty good about Tucson just being total chaos. I can't wait to watch that regional. So DBU and LSU play each other in the super regional like I currently have it. I think the NCAA is going to end up giving the bid to LSU. I mean, Alex Fox Stadium is going to be able to fill more people in it. Same thing happened last year with Pete Taylor Park over Lindsey Nelson. One, it's how much money are you going to bid? But two, how much money are you going to make? That's another big thing that goes into your bid. LSU is going to be able to outbid DBU here for this regional. So that's one huge aspect and factor into me picking LSU in here. But also, I think the gauge jump, Luke Holman 1-2, is better than the Dallas Baptist Ryan Johnson and Ellwanger or why am I blanking on the other kid's name? Now I got to go find it again. Ellwanger and DeBerry. Sorry. I think LSU is going to be able to get the job done at home against DBU and get to Omaha just by the luck of a pretty good draw for the Tigers. For me personally, we're going to the top right corner, the winner of the Lexington Regional and the Corvallis Regional. I have Kentucky here. I still got questions about Oregon State on the road. Kentucky, I mean, they're just a really fun team that's winning games right now. And I think being at home is going to help them tremendously, because Oregon State, a team that loves to clobber the baseball, this is a bigger park for sure. Than dimensions wise, it's bigger than Goss. I don't know. The climate up there in Corvallis might even it out between the two here, but I'm going to end up going with Kentucky. And we saw last year in the postseason, their home field turned into a different home field than we've seen before. We saw the Big Blue Nation of college basketball world show up for the college baseball regional last year. So that was cool to see. And that's probably going to happen again if they get to that position. Georgia, I think, is going. So the NC State is like 7-12 on the road this season. And also, if South Carolina gets out of this regional, Georgia's previously swept South Carolina this season. So I have Georgia getting to Omaha. That's one of the bets for me here. Georgia plus 170 plus 175 on FanDuel to get to Omaha is my favorite Omaha appearance after seeing the draw bet. The other one that I placed was Arkansas minus 105. I forgot to mention that earlier. I've got one more coming up here in a minute or so. The next matchup is going to be super fun between Clemson and Oklahoma State, in my opinion. I have Oklahoma State going into the Clemson regional and winning it. Again, I think that Garcia and Holiday Punch 1-2 in the beginning of their rotation is better than what Clemson's currently got. And that's the ultimate deciding factor for me, because I think both offenses are pretty even to each other. But Oklahoma State, they've got that front line starting pitching power that Clemson just doesn't. That's the one weakness about this Clemson team. And I knew it going in when I backed them, that they didn't have a true ace. I was hoping that one of them would step up. Aiden Kanak is currently looking like the best pitcher on this team, but he's been starting game threes. So I don't know if Bakich would move him up to game 2 or whatever, but I'm currently at this point, at this juncture, going with Oklahoma State to get to Omaha through Clemson's super regional. And then the last one, I'm going with Texas A&M. I just think this park is also pretty big, and Texas A&M makes it look small. You see Santa Barbara coming down in the College Station. First off, the Gauchos haven't been as good on the road this season as they have been at home. Secondly, they haven't really played well in the non-conference against great teams. Plus, on the road, they had lost to some of the better conference opponents they've faced this season. Both UC Irvine and Cal Poly, I believe they lost to on the road. Texas A&M's a completely different caliber. I'm going to go with the Aggies over Santa Barbara to get to Omaha. Texas A&M to get to Omaha is minus 136. The best price you're going to be able to find on that is Bet Rivers. So now I've got two pools here in Omaha. Game one would be Tennessee and Duke. This would be the Stamos Causey game against probably a Santucci game. Personally, I don't think Santucci moves the needle enough for me to be able to pick him and Duke over Tennessee. So I got Tennessee winning that first game in this double elimination pool. Then the next game, it's Arkansas against LSU. I'm going to take Hagen Smith and the Hogs over Gage Jump and the Tigers. In the losers bracket of this pool, I'm going to take Luke Holman and the Tigers over Duke. I think Duke, this is partially they dumped the Kool-Aid. They got the Omaha. They broke the barrier. They're going to go 2 and barbecue in Omaha, but they had a great time doing it. In the winners bracket, this one's the tough one with Drew Beam against whoever's Arkansas is throwing. Personally, I think it's going to be either Tigert or Molina against Drew Beam. I think Tennessee gets the job done in this game, particularly, mainly because the offense against, both pitchers being pretty solid themselves, it'll be basically a wash. I think the Vols offense is going to be able to get the job done. Arkansas is going to win the game in the losers bracket against LSU in their third starter. Arkansas is then going to probably start either Hagen Smith or they've got a fourth starter that they feel pretty confident in. Tennessee's not going to throw the Stamos Causey dual game again, pairing, because they won't feel the need as much to win that game. And I mean, they've only been going to be playing their third game in that one. So I think this game or this bracket goes to a game 7, and you basically see what played out last year between LSU and Wake Forest, where, they're going to end up throwing their aces, their best pitchers, their best situation. Tennessee goes back to Stamos Causey. Arkansas goes to Hagen Smith. I think Arkansas gets to the College World Series finals. Tennessee's my runner-up in bracket 1. Since 2007, no number 1 overall seed has played in the national championship game. Since 1999, no number 1 overall seed has won the national championship. I have that staying the same with Arkansas winning that pool. In bracket 2, this is chaos because Kentucky and Georgia don't really have the ace. I ultimately gave this one to Kentucky. I think that Georgia being long ball or nothing type of team isn't really going to play to their strengths in Omaha, where Kentucky, I mean, they can play multiple different styles of baseball and be able to win games. I think that suits them pretty well in Omaha, honestly. So I have Kentucky winning game 1 over Georgia, and plus they swept the Dogs earlier this season. In game 2, I'm going to take Ryan Brager and Texas A&M over Oklahoma State and Sam Garcia. Game 2, I like Brian Holiday over Georgia, whoever they're throwing in that game, whether it be Leighton Finley or Charlie Goldstein. I like him and what the Pokes have on the offense more than the situation on the mound for Georgia. So then my losers bracket game next is Oklahoma State and Kentucky. Carson Bench against probably either a Dom Nyman or I forgot to say Kentucky, Texas A&M. I have A&M winning this game. I think they're going to be able to mash whether it's, they're getting on base in Omaha and working and manufacturing some runs. However it be, they already play in a big park at home at Bluebell Park, and it doesn't bother them. I still think they'll be able to be just fine in Omaha with their up and down lineup power. But even if they can't hit the long ball, their offense is still going to be pretty much unaffected there. And I think they'll be able to outscore Kentucky in that matchup, whether it be Shane Sadeo versus Dom Nyman or Mason Moore or Tanner Jones going for Texas A&M. I think A&M moves on as 2-0 into the winner's bracket. Then you get the Kentucky-Oklahoma State game. And personally, Carson Bench, in my opinion, has looked amazing on the mound in his last couple of outings. I like the Cowboys here over the Kentucky Wildcats, and it gets back to that Texas A&M Oklahoma State matchup. And I just have Texas A&M as a much better team than Oklahoma State, but the Pokes will be my runner-up there. And I've got an Arkansas Texas A&M final. And personally, the way I had bracket 1 playing out, Hagen Smith being, the pitcher in Game 7, like we saw last year with Paul Skeens, didn't even get to really throw in full rest in that finals. Hagen Smith would have to appear on short rest against Texas A&M in Game 3. Personally, I think Texas A&M's offense will be able to get it done. So I got the Aggies winning it all in Omaha this year, my College World Series champion. That's my bracket, folks. So I'm going to submit this into the group is called The College Baseball Experience X SGPN. You can join by either looking up the link sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bracket or the shorter link sg.pm/bracket. sg.pn/bracket. So that's my bracket right there. Thank you all for joining me on today's episode, going through some of the comments that have come in over the last couple of minutes. Josh D. Penn says it's not going 3. Knowles win first 2 similar to what they did in Durham against Duke. Ricky says SEC tournament via Omaha. That's the other thing I have written on my bracket here currently with all of everything that I'm sweating out. At -150, I have the over 3.5 SEC teams in Omaha this season. Personally, I mean, on this bracket, I have 6. I think it's ridiculous, mainly because a lot of the draws that they got, by virtue of getting 11 SEC teams in, they can't all play each other in the NCAA tournament. So they're going to get favorable draws, and all 5 of their hosts got mid-major 2 seeds. I mean, that's just the luck of the draw. So I've got the SEC looking really, really good this postseason. I have over 3.5 SEC teams in Omaha at -150. My plays to win regionals. I'll get this out of here. My plays to win regionals. I have -155 on Georgia. I have -120 on Oklahoma State, +100 on Duke, and +135 on UCSB. I'll have an article on this coming out very, very shortly over on sportsgamblingpodcast.com. My Omaha appearance portfolio currently looks +800 on UCSB from the preseason, 11-1 on Florida State from the preseason. I added here -105 on Arkansas after seeing the draw, -136 on Texas A&M after seeing the draw, and +175 on Georgia after seeing the draw. Fully transparent, the 3 that I've already gotten axed was 20-1 Northeastern, 22-1 USC, and 31-1 Troy. I'm also holding a 50-1 on St. John's to get to Omaha. And then I've got a few national championship sprinkles that I've played throughout the season. I had quite a few from the preseason. This one's not great. Florida at 11-1, fully transparent. Not a great number anymore. However, still holding on to that. Arkansas at 11-1. We got that at the preseason. I have Clemson both at 28-1 and 40-1 that I'm holding from the preseason. Oregon State at 25-1 in the preseason. And we added Texas A&M at 20-1 in the first month of the year. We added Mississippi State 46-1 during the second month of the year. And then in early May, we did a futures episode where I added Tennessee at 9-1, Duke at 23-1, Florida State at 25-1, and East Carolina at 30-1. And the one that's already dead is Northeastern at 200-1. Thank you all for tuning in to the College Baseball Experience. I'm starting to lose my voice. Hopefully I'm ready, rested, back here for tonight, handicapping all the first games here in the NCAA tournament. Game 1, Friday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. I'll see you here back here tonight around 9 Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Eastern is when I'm planning on doing that show. Thank you all for tuning in. We had over 400 people tuned in, both on YouTube and Twitter. I can't thank you guys enough. This is going to be one hell of a time here in the postseason. You've been experiencing the better side of college baseball with the College Baseball Experience. Adios, amigos.